What's up, people? Do you find it hard to say no? I know I do. At least, it's always been a problem for me going way back. I come from a long line of pushovers. You want to be reliable, you want to help your friends out, you want to help your family out, but there's only so many hours in the day, and you've got a lot of things that you want to do. So today, I'd like to talk through some ideas on how to say no to people without being a dick about it. So let's dig into it, and let's head down to the studio so I can get some more small wins in today. That momentum feels really good. Alright. So some of my creative friends were asking me about this the other day, and I think it's one of those problems that a lot of creative people have, the sensitive types. And if you're creative, you're getting a lot of requests like this, right? Really, if you have any skill, you want people to know that you totally appreciate the fact that they thought of you, and you really want to do what you can to help your friends and your family out, but you can't spread yourself too thin in the process. So let's talk about how to avoid that. Yeah, the studio's a disaster again. What the hell? Didn't I just fix this? Here's what's going on. Got a nice shampooed carpet back here. This is going to be my creative space where I can get back into drawing and painting and all the things that I've neglected. And really, that's a pretty good segue, neglected, right? I mean, why do we let the things that we love get so neglected? If you're like me, you spend a lot of your time solving other people's problems, and that feels really good, and that's really helpful, and people appreciate it, of course. But if you're also like me in the way that you don't make enough time for yourself and then you regret it, then that's a problem and you need to take care of it. You have been in the closet too long. Hey, sweet boy. What's up, bud? You sleepy today? Alright, so let's get into it. This will come in handy today. Alright, so the first thing I'd like to talk about is why we say yes in the first place. Why are we always so quick to say yes to things? I'm going to go over 5 reasons. Obviously there are more than that, but these 5 have really helped me, and so I think they're probably the most valuable to share with you guys. So number 1, we say yes because we feel selfish if we say no. We're taught from a very young age that to be a good person is to be reliable, to be counted on, to be there for people, to put others before yourself. And there's actually a lot of truth to that. The problem is I think we take that one a little bit too far. So let's keep going with this. Number 2. Second reason I think we are so quick to say yes is that we hate to disappoint people. We don't want to be rude. We don't want to let people down. We don't want to disappoint anyone. It makes us feel terrible. So it's a lot easier to just go ahead and disappoint ourselves. I mean, we're going to forgive ourselves, right? Reason number 3, we don't want to hurt the relationship. We care about our friends and family. That's why they're in our lives, and we want to see them succeed. And if there's something that we can do to help them succeed, then by all means, we want to say yes to that. So here's the 4th reason we like to say yes. Fear of missing out on the opportunity. It probably is an exciting opportunity that you want to be part of, and that's why you're so quick to say yes, even if you end up regretting it later. The 5th and final reason that I'd like to share is that we feel guilty. Now, I think this is a big one. I think this is one of the biggest drivers in society. If you think about how community works, it works based on reciprocity. If you don't feel guilty and you don't feel that karmic debt for what you haven't done to help out other people, then you do end up letting people down and all of these other things. But if this is the wrong opportunity and you're looking for a way to say no gracefully and to do it for the right reasons, I'm going to go ahead and shoot some of these down for you. First, a little bit more progress on the studio. This is a good example. I want to help you guys out, and I'm going to help you guys out, but I also need to take care of the things that I need to get done. Don't worry, this will be easy. Can you believe I've lived in this house for 5 years and I'm just now setting this up? Anyway, you ready? Whew! That was easy. Alright, so where were we? I missed having this desk around. So let's get into the 5 questions we really should be asking ourselves before we get in over our heads and say yes to everything that comes our way. Is doing something for ourselves really that selfish, or are we being more honest with ourselves and others? Being honest means being honest to our goals, to our convictions, to our priorities, to our values. And if what someone's asking us to help them out with doesn't bring us closer to that goal, we're not being honest with ourselves. And there's nothing healthy about that. Nor are we being honest with them. If we take on something that we're really not into, that we know that we don't have time for, that we can't really give 100%, then they're probably better off finding somebody else anyway. Second, we don't want to disappoint people, but are we worrying a little too much what people think of us? What are we really scared of here? Are we afraid that they're not going to think we're a good person anymore? That they're going to hold it against us the rest of our lives? Is letting them down so monumentally bad as a person? Shouldn't we be afraid of the strain that taking on too much puts on a relationship? Do you really feel that good after you help somebody out with something or do something for someone and then immediately regret it? If you really think about it, you know you're going to end up resenting the decision. And that brings me right to the 3rd point. What kind of relationship is this if it's so fragile and easily destroyed just because you weren't available this one time? Now, most of the time, you ask yourself this question, you're going to realize, no, our relationship's better than that. We're better friends, we're family, whatever the case may be. It's not going to all crumble just because we aren't available to help out with something or have to put our own priorities first because we have our own goals and we're already behind on them. One piece of wisdom that really stuck with me, and I don't remember where this came from, but we teach people how to treat us. The way that we react when we're asked for something, told to do something, whatever it might be, if there's some resistance to put up with, chances are, if the relationship isn't worth keeping, they're going to move along. And if the relationship is worth keeping, then they're going to understand and respect you all the more for being upfront with them. So ask yourself, what kind of relationship is this? Is this a healthy relationship or not? If it's not, oh well. The 4th question I think we should be asking is this opportunity the right opportunity for me? And is it the right opportunity for me right now? Does this opportunity align with your goals, your current goals, what you're working on right now? Does it align with your values? Does it bring you closer to the things that you want to be doing with your life? Or is it stopping you from what you'd really rather be doing and just pushing your own goals into the future? And the last one, okay, maybe you feel a little guilty when you say no, but ask yourself this: how much worse am I going to feel if I say yes? On the one hand, you've got a little bit of guilt, generally unfounded. Once you get it over with, it's not so bad, and before you know it, totally forgotten. Now, on the other hand, you say yes, you have extra stress, extra anxiety, extra pressure, less time. You're not getting the things done that you want to get done because you're spreading yourself so thin. You're starting to resent the person. Little bit of guilt, a lot of stress. How bad are you going to feel if you don't make your own goals happen? So that's all well and good that we can ask ourselves these questions and we can get a little more clarity on whether or not this is actually something that we should be committing to. Let's dig in a little bit deeper and get down to the point. I'd like to share with you some tips that I've learned along the way that have helped me learn to say no. Some actual tactics that you can use, not only to turn people down, but to turn them down graciously and not being a good friend about it at the same time. All right, let's dig into this. All right, how to say no. My first tip is don't dance around it. Pull the Band-Aid. If you're gonna say no and you know you're gonna say no, say no. Say no immediately. The longer that we put off saying no, the better chance that we're screwing over the person that needed our help because we're taking away time they could have been finding somebody else. And the longer you put it off, the harder it's going to be when you have to do it, because now you know the pressure's higher. My point is, the longer that you put it off, the worse it is for everyone. So my first tip is don't dance around it. Just get to it. Say no immediately. The second tip that I've learned is never say yes on the spot. Even if you think that this is a really good idea and that you ought to say yes, you never want to do it on the spot. You should always be ready with, let me check my schedule. Let me think about that and get back to you. That sounds really exciting. I'm so glad that you thought of me for this. I'd love to do it. Let me see if I can work it out. I need to weigh in my other commitments and see where I'm at. Never say yes immediately. Never say yes when you feel like you're under pressure. Like I said in the first tip, to say no as fast as possible, say yes as slow as possible. The third tip that I have for you is to keep it brief. The best thing that you can do is to be brief, be direct, and be honest. Get right to the point. No good comes from a bunch of unnecessary excuses or detailed reasons why you can't do it. Just get to the point of why it's not working out for you and be done with it. I've really seen this one in action myself. The more that somebody is stammering around trying to come up with excuses, the more that it sounds just like excuses. And you're not saying no for a dishonest reason. At least that's not my intention here, to teach you to manipulate people. If you're saying no because you really can't do it, just keep it that simple. It is that simple. You don't need to explain yourself. So if you're going to keep it brief, what kind of things should you be saying? Well, that's my fourth point. Give earnest reasons. This ties into the last one about not giving too many details and excuses, but the details that you do give, be honest, be human, be straightforward about them. Tell them, I really don't have any extra time. I really wish that I could help, but it's just not going to work out for me. Or I really don't feel I'm the right person for the job. I've got this other thing going on that's taking up all of my time. I'm so sorry. Best of luck. What I'm really getting at is that in the few details that you do give, just give them from the heart. Be honest with people. Make it clear in those few words that you have between the request and the no that you really do value this person and that you care about them, and you would say yes if circumstances were better. Now, the fifth and final tip that I have for you guys is a big one. Stay humble. What do I mean by that? Well, first, try to show a little gratitude that they thought of you. Most of the time when people are asking you for something, it's not because they want to use you or abuse you. It's because you're the first person that popped into their mind, the perfect person for the job, or somebody that they'd love to work with. That's important, and you want to show a little bit of humility and reinforce the gratitude. Tell them, man, I really appreciate that you thought of me for this. And to the last point about being earnest, being honest, all of this, you're not just blowing smoke up someone's ass here. If it's not true, don't say it, but I have a feeling it is true. It feels good to be wanted. It feels good to be needed. Let them know that. And whatever you do, don't be dismissive or condescending. Don't tear down what they're trying to do in the process of saying no. Build it up. Give them a little encouragement. Give them a little positivity to go with the fact that you're turning them down. Nobody likes to be tossed to the side, and it's a sure way to make sure that you're not gaining any respect for yourself in the process. So these tips are great, but they don't always get you off of the hook. Sometimes people keep pushing. Occasionally, they're just in a really desperate situation and they really need some help, and maybe you should reconsider at that point. That's up to you. But if you really can't do it and they keep pushing, here are some tips. First of all, just reiterate your reasons. Just because somebody asked the question again doesn't mean you have to give a new answer. You don't have to dig deeper and give more and more reasons. Just restate the factual reasons why you said no in the first place. And don't be a pushover. That's the worst way to start a relationship. Like I said earlier about you teach people the way to treat you. Healthy relationships are never built on somebody coercing you into something that you really don't want to do. And I'll tell you one thing I've learned again and again the hard way. Relationships that start this way continue this way. But maybe they're not trying to push you. Maybe they're in a desperate situation and they really need some help. Well, propose alternatives if you can think of them. Do you know somebody else who might be able to help? Brainstorm a little bit. The least you can do is help them find another way through. And last, this one is really powerful. I can't commit to that, but here's what I can do for you. Maybe you don't have time to help them paint their house, but you have time to help them pick the perfect colors. Maybe you don't have time to take on this logo, but you can point them to some online resources where they can get it done inexpensively. Alright guys, let's get serious here. What if they still keep at it? If all else fails, and I only recommend this if someone is really trying to manipulate you, let me lay it out here. This is the last one. This is the red button. This is the last straw approach when all else fails. Take the lesson that if somebody keeps pushing this far and none of this has worked and they're still trying to make you feel guilty and they're still trying to talk you into whatever it is that they needed your help with, look at this for what it is. It is a big red flag that this is a toxic relationship and a toxic situation, and see what you can do over time to get this person out of your life. I know that sounds really harsh, but if you're gonna lose friends over this, what kind of friends were they in the first place? Do you really want people in your life that are like that, who want to use and abuse you? Again, this is just for those fringe cases where none of the polite stuff has worked and they don't have respect for you and your boundaries and your goals. This is absolute last nuclear option. But seriously, get rid of people like that. You do not need them in your life, and all they're gonna do is make you feel like shit. Alright people, I've got one last thing for you. I'm gonna recommend this book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. This book, I tell you, if you want to learn how to stop wasting your time on things that don't matter, to figure out the things that do matter, and a lot of the tips that I picked up about how to say no came from this book. I won't say this book exactly changed my life, but this book had exactly what I needed to hear at the time. I'm not going to dig into it right now because I really want to get in deep with this one and do a whole video about it, because this book means a lot to me. I read it, I listened to the audiobook twice, and I took some really detailed notes on it. Alright, let's see. So I'm not going to dig into all of his reasons here. If you feel like pausing the video and reading my notes, you can, but I really recommend that you go ahead and check out the book. And by the time you're done reading it, maybe I'll have a review put together and we can talk together about it. Alright, so that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you find it helpful. I know that I did. I spent most of my life being a pushover, and only over the last year have I really learned to start saying no and to do it for the right reasons. And let me tell you, it's such a weight off your back. You have no idea. This very video came by request from some friends of mine, so if you guys have any ideas or any questions you want to ask me, please hit me up in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. I really want this to be a two-way conversation, even though I know there's only a handful of you so far. I cherish any feedback that I get from you. Don't forget you can subscribe to the channel here if you're interested in more conversations like this. Till next time, peace.